Hey, I'm Sam. Hi, I'm Hunter.
Hi, I'm Connor.
Hi, I'm Ryan. Welcome to our documentary.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now you may be asking yourself, what is urban sprawl? Urban sprawl is the uncontrolled expansion of urban areas into rural areas. Environmental groups say urban sprawl is growing so fast in metropolitan areas around us that nearly 1,200 species of plants and animals could be wiped out.
The National Wildlife Federation and Smart Growth America predict over the next 25 years that we'll, in the U.S., lose up to 220,000 acres due to development.
And now, an exclusive interview with the Sammy P. Hansen.
So Sam, we see this, what is this called?
It's a big digger.
What environmental impacts will this have?
It digs. So, digging up the ground
Erosion, maybe?
definitely causes erosion, but destruction of habitat for these wild game.
So they did all this?
They did all this. There used to be nice forested trees where I saw elk frolicking, deers mating, and bunnies hopping. Yeah, this is a diesel 4296 Cummins engine, and it gets 0.2 miles to the gallon. It actually burns diesel fuel, which is burned into our atmosphere, creating carbon emissions, which is hurting our environment.
Okay, Sam, what environmental impacts do you think that hole in the ground has?
Well, I noticed there's some piping at the bottom, which would cause a different amount of groundwater flow. So I think that might pollute the groundwater.
Okay, so effects on all the water that would say like wild game drinks?
Yeah. What if they got stuck down there? How could they get out?
That's a very good point. You see an elk just walking across here and, he goes down into the hole he goes. And that's one dead elk.
A bear running around in the woods out here in semi-rural Maple Valley. Nothing at all unusual about that. But there's a family that lives out here that says there is an especially aggressive bear that is really scaring them. And they are demanding that authorities do something about it. State Fish and Wildlife Officer Bruce Richards says people commonly misinterpret bear behavior.
They said it came towards them, and I don't know if that happened or not. But if it did, it would be totally defensive move on the bear's part.
These bears are making defensive moves because the residents are pushing them out of their habitats. Who knows, one of these houses could have been where one of the bear dens used to be. Here's yet another example of wild game in our urban areas. These turkeys are going through streets and neighborhoods because they have been pushed out of their natural habitats.
Research showed that when animals are unable to cross the road and other urban barriers, they begin to inbreed and lose their genetic diversity. Decreased genetic diversity may cause species to changes of extinction because it limits their ability to adapt to environmental changes. This is coming from a co-author, Robert Fisher, and U.S. Geological Survey in San Diego. said that a similar study recently was started in San Diego City to see what happened to genetic diversity in a region where habitat and conservation planning goes back several years.
A claim that the opposing side may make is that nature will run its course. We can't stop building because of rapid population explosion, and this expansion makes a lot of money and produces many jobs. Now, yes, we need space for these extra people, and the jobs are nice, but we need to preserve our environment because once we lose it, it will be the downfall of society. Quote, at least 423 large cities that is with more than 300,000 people in it across the globe are nestled into 36 biodiversity hotspot regions that harbor a high diversity of animal and plant species found virtually nowhere else in the world.
All right, guys, we're just strolling down this trail, which is also habitat for lots of wildlife because
Look at this.
you can just hear lots of birds chirping. I don't know if it picks up on the camera, but there's lots of birds chirping and
There's even
yeah.
a grouse right in there.
Yeah, there was a grouse in there. We missed the shot of it though.
Plentiful species of animals run this joint.
Now, Sam, will you explain why this is a bad sign to see in this natural area?
So this right here is Big Diggy, and it does very big news to this environment around here. Let me start off with this first thing right here. See this? Exhaust pipe. Blackness. That is the result of diesel fuel in this engine burning, releasing CO2 into our atmosphere, poisoning it, harming our ozone. Another. All these lines and fluid, right here especially, those are hydraulic fluids. Those will leak and poison groundwater, and a prime example of how this is infecting.
Look at this. Ugh.
Leakage right there.
Nasty.
And I wanted to point out, if you can hear on the microphone, there is a stream not 20 paces
Right here.
into the
I'll
woods.
take you to it. This is a stream where I personally know that the elk come to feed, water. Look at this. Nice clear water. Nice clear water. You see this down here. And now with this Big Diggy here, all this water is going to get polluted. And that pollution that will run down the hill, as you can see, it is a steep incline, downhill into the stream. The elk, the deer, the bear, the mountain lion,
And the aqua ecosystem, aquatic
all
ecosystem.
the aqua ecosystem.
This is a demonstration of non-point source pollution coming from runoff from this Big Diggy here. And we can see this as a prime example in many of our urban sprawl sites around Maple Valley.
Yeah, it's just getting, now this is gonna get all polluted, and that can cause, we don't even know what kind of damage to the elk and all the animals around here. You know, look how fresh this water is. See, nice and clear. But as soon as that starts running, this will turn terrible, and
The turbidity will decrease fast, is what he's meaning to say. The color of the water will change from clear and crisp to murky and stagnant, as another word.
because of this Big Diggy.
Not only the hydraulic fluid, but the oil and burning can create acid rain, acidifying this aquatic landscape, making it hard for the population of animals that live near this region to survive.
The elk and deer and like all the species I said before, they rely on this babbling brook coming from the mountains. Right now it's a lot high, but this, even during the summer, this will not go down. They'll be able to drink off this and eat its plentiful greens that it provides all summer long. Usually, you know, all around here is going to dry out during the summer, but right here, this is all going to stay green because of this water. But as soon as those nitrogens and everything gets in there, it's going to turn terrible. And they're not going to be able to eat this because it'll all dry up. And that leaves them to starve to death. Look at this right here. This is the bones from a deer. Got the vertebrae here. Come over, some more vertebrae, some rib bones,
Hey, there's a
leg
shed.
bone.
Oh wait, never mind. That's a stick.
A stick. Oh yeah, this is a shed. Ah. Okay. Point proven that's not a shed. Okay, you know, this could already be caused by that big diggy right there. You think it's a coincidence that shows up and then we get a bunch of bones here? I don't think so.
All right, guys, here's the first sign of urban sprawl. We got
Bike trails.
paved bike trails.
This should be a game trail for elk and deer.
Or even just like a gravel trail like this. Doesn't hurt as bad as just putting asphalt, which could have chemicals and oil.
Oh, it's not good. It does. When they're building this, and then again going into the stream, gonna kill some more deer now.
What do you think paves this? A paving machine. Burns diesel fuel, releases CO2 into our
big
atmosphere.
pavey. Big pavey. You know, guys, for this documentary, I say elk a lot, but when I talk about elk, you know, it's hard for me to name all the species like every time. So if I say elk, that just implies me talking about everything else. Just crossing the road. Doesn't mean to cross it. It doesn't want to cross this pavement. It's like,
How many deer do you think get hit in the road every year in Washington State?
thousands of thousands. You know, I'm personally affected by this.
Right here, right above my finger, that's the number. How many deer get hit by cars every year? Which, I mean, that may not seem like an effective urban sprawl, but the reason that it is all these people coming to the new developments.
Exactly.
They wouldn't be driving on this road if there was no need for urban. This is the driving range.
This is the driving range, and look at all these. This is not but 30 feet from where we had that encounter with the deer.
Cracked golf ball. What do you think that is? That's all kinds of chemicals and chemical compounds that could be poisonous. I'm gonna keep this, pick it up, get rid of it. This could have been cracked from a deer eating it, which could potentially cause them to choke and die. You know, this is so many.
This is Colby Watkins' fault right here. Colby, this is your fault, okay? Just kidding. Okay, Colby, you know I love you, Watkins. Best duo partner on Fortnite. You know, just so we got the big hill up there where we were just at. You know, that's so wild, and Big Diggy or Mini Diggy or Little whatever we're calling it is over there now, and this is taking away from the habitat of the deer and the elk.
This is the first wildlife overpass on Interstate 90 between Seattle and Boston. But it sits in an incredibly important and strategic location in the Cascades. That all wildlife moving from north to south have to come through this area. This is the forested area, as well as 20,000 to 30,000 cars every day.
We're going to bring in fill material, and the whole idea is to make it look like the forest. So planting trees, planting rocks, planting the natural grasses that are in this area. We'll be planting those across the top. You connect the forest to my left and to the natural wetlands to the right of me.
And we've been working on this thing for, 15 years, and it's really good to see something come together. And I think it's a terrific design. This is going to be iconic. People are going to come here to see this.
Urban design can help when it comes to negotiating with city planners and developers about how a city can grow. Perhaps, said a landscape architect Richard Weller, urban designers can help explore ways to build for higher density or convince developers to build away from areas with high biodiversity. The problem with how we think about cities, Weller said, is that we tend to ignore the periphery and be obsessed with the center. But we can change our perception of what cities are. At least in my field, in the 21st century, we're beginning to understand cities as ecosystems and as nature rather than something that is opposed to nature. So in the end, what we need to do is be smart about our building and make sure we save land for our wildlife but can still build smart. We can do this on a large scale, and what you can do for our area is become involved, also building wild game bridges to prevent wild game from getting hit, such like the one in the Cascades.